Hello. So this is my video for the first three books of this week in Isaac Asimov's The Complete Robot. Um, I'm doing the Future History Project, and I'm helping co-host the Future History Project. It was set up by Shawn D Standfast. I can't believe how just entertaining that this has been. This will be a lot of fun, and we're eventually going to get to the novels. For a while, we're going to be on the short stories, and I couldn't be happier about that. I think short stories have become my favorite type of literature, my favorite medium, and I have fallen in love with them, especially science fiction short stories, and even especially more Isaac Asimov's science fiction stories. Now, Isaac Asimov has his detractors, and I totally understand why Isaac Asimov has his detractors. If a person is a character reader, if you are, if you're looking for great characters, if you're looking for literary characters, Isaac Asimov may not be the place for you. He is not the most, he doesn't have the most talent where characters are concerned. His ideas are huge. His writing of those ideas are huge. You know, enough to me to where I loved Foundation. I think Foundation was the first science fiction book I ever read, the first Foundation book. I have it up here somewhere, and I don't see where, so I won't be showing you right now. It might be down here on the table. But Foundation was, in my opinion, a masterful work of science fiction, a very important work of science fiction. What we're doing with this is the future history stuff of Isaac Asimov. What Isaac Asimov did was he wrote the Empire stuff, the Foundation stuff, and the robot stuff. And he, in the 70s and 80s, I believe, maybe even into the 90s, he connected them all by writing other stories that connected everything. And I think sometimes it's going to work, and there are other times it's not. But that's okay, because, my God, I mean, what a, he wrote so much stuff. What a crazy idea to even do that. But I'm so glad he did. But I want to talk about three stories, there's two in particular that we read this week. Let me see if I can. The first story was another extremely short one, and it was called, well, I'm not sure which one it was. I don't think it was Think. It was True Love, which I found interesting. It kind of reminded me of, the technical side of FarmersOnly.com or Becky. What are some of the other dating things online?
What do you mean?
The online dating services that try to hook you up with other people.
FarmersOnly.com.
I already said that.
In Harmony?
Yeah, In Harmony, stuff like that, But it was one man who worked with a computer to try to get his perfect match. Didn't quite work. So read it. It's only like 5 pages, 4 or 5 pages, maybe 6. It is worth a look. Even if for comedy, I enjoyed it. The second story, though, is an absolute masterpiece of a science fiction short story, and it's one of my all-time favorites. Becky loves this one too. It's called Robbie. It's about a robot, a little girl who has a robot, just kind of like in the first story we mentioned. A boy had a robot that was a dog. This one, she has a robot that is actually a humanoid companion. And in this story, again, kind of like in A Boy's Best Friend, that original story I was telling you about, that you can go back and watch my first video where I discussed it, or you can watch Shawn D Standfast video, which is much better than my videos, let me tell you. He goes more into depth. He gets a little more of the story. He's read these quite a few times. he's read biographies of Isaac Asimov. He does an amazing job. So yeah, don't watch this without watching Shawn Standfast. I mean, if you're gonna watch me, watch the real guy talk about it. But Isaac Asimov wrote this beautiful story about a girl who has a relationship with a robot, with a humanoid robot companion, and her mother does not like it. Her mother hates the idea that she has a robot companion, and eventually sends the robot away. And it was sad. It was an extremely sad thing. And that is one thing Isaac Asimov has down, is he can get that emotional. Well, I don't know how you would put it, but well, he can get that emotional kick. And a lot of it is because it's children. And he does write children better than he does adults, let me tell you. Yeah, sometimes the children speak a little bit too intelligently, but in this story, that's just not the case. Let me see what the little girl's name is. I cannot remember. It was Gloria. And Gloria is the one who loved Robbie and really enjoyed his companionship. And he could not talk, which I found interesting. Robbie was not a talking robot. But this is about an adventure. It's kind of an adventure story. It's kind of an Odyssey story of this girl wanting her robot back so bad, and her parents trying to get her to forget Robbie, or her mother trying to get her to forget Robbie. And at the end, her father, pulls a few strings and makes it kind of pisses the mother off a little bit, which such a good story. But one of the things I found interesting, Becky read this story. I've always read this in an older version of iRobot, and I read this in this version of the complete robot, which, let me see when this version came out. Sorry, I know I'm kind of all over the place. This one is 1995. So this is still before the new ending. Becky said there's a new ending. I have a newer version of iRobot. Or you read it on the ebook, right?
Yeah.
Okay, she read the ebook. And she said it had a completely different ending. So I've never read that completely different ending. And right now I don't think I want to. I think I want to leave it exactly where it is. Yeah. She didn't like the ending of the other story. It was too sad. But here, I'm going to go ahead and just stick with this one. Now, the next story, which Robbie, like I said, is a masterpiece of a science fiction short story. Go read it if you haven't read it. It's 24 pages, 23 pages, something like that. Very easy, simple read. You can read it in 30 minutes or less. Yeah, go try it. You can probably find it online somewhere. But Becky did. The next one was Robot Al 76 Goes Astray, or AL 76. I'll say Al because I believe that's what they call him in the story. Now this is an interesting book. It is about a robot who gets loose in society, and you've got all these people looking for him, and there's rewards out for him and things like that, and people are worried about him. It's kind of a Frankenstein type situation. He gets loose. Nobody knows where he is, and they're afraid. I mean, and society is afraid, but the main programmer and things like that is not as afraid because he knows more about it. That doesn't mean accidents can't happen. I mean, the first law of robotics for Isaac Asimov was a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. So that was very, very, very much came into play here in this story. I'm not going to spoil this one because I really believe this is one that could actually be spoiled a bit. I'm not going to do that. I think it is a great story though. And it's a story that I will read again. I think this is one step below Robbie as the best that we've read so far. and A Boy's Best Friend. I would put A Boy's Best Friend and Robbie as my two favorites, and then this one here as my third favorite story that we've read so far. It has some cool science in this one, with a robot using what he has learned, or using what he's been programmed to build something, that is surprising. So yeah, give it a shot. It's great. If you're not, I mean, if you haven't started reading with us and you really want to, it's only 10 short stories. Most of them are very short stories, you know, under 20 pages, but we got a few that are over 20. Maybe 3 stories have been over 20 pages or so. And please read with us. This is a lot of fun. You can talk to Shawn D Standfast, and he can send you a list of what we're reading and in what order, because these are all read in a certain order. Now, we're not reading The Complete Robot in the order that it's published in, because Asimov published it in kind of a strange way. These were a little harder to talk about than the first ones. I think they're just as good, but the stories are a little harder to talk about than the first stories that we read. I'm gonna have 2 more I got to read that I'm going to talk about this weekend. I kind of missed a few days because I just didn't feel that well. I planned to have another video up on Sunday, and I wasn't able to do it. But yeah, read these with us. Isaac Asimov is a master. Very important stories to science fiction. Very important stories to society. You know, people don't realize this. I mean, think of the laws of robotics. How many people know about the laws of robotics but have no idea who came up with them? It's a bunch. So yeah, read these with us. And you know, this isn't done with the most critical eye this time, but it was done with, you know, or the most scientific minded from the most scientific minded person. But I will let you know, I love these stories. I am getting plenty out of these stories. You know, I understand how important they are, how wonderful these stories are. So yeah, give them a read, and I will talk to you soon.